We're not good enough?
No.
You know what to mean. Wait, I am on this.
You give me ready.
Whatever you like, sir.
We both know that that's.
I need a chainsaw.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's after 9 a.m. We will call this meeting to order. Start with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with
Liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everyone. Today's invocation is Commissioner Walter.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. In the spirit of the new school year, thought I would share this gratitude as we begin the new school year. Even if you aren't in school, it's a special time for our community. As we begin this new school year, we pause to reflect with gratitude and intention. May this be a time of learning and growth, a time to discover new ideas, develop new skills, deepen our understanding of the world and one another. We hold in our thoughts all students. May they be curious, courageous, and kind. May they find encouragement in their efforts and resilience in the face of challenges. We recognize and appreciate all educators, staff, and school leaders. May they be supported in their work, valued in their service, and inspired in their teaching. We extend care to families and caregivers. May they find strength, patience, and joy as they guide and support their children. Let our schools be places of safety, inclusion, and respect, where differences are honored, voices are heard, and friendships grow. May we all begin this year with open hearts and minds, ready to learn, ready to listen, and ready to build a community rooted in respect, empathy, and shared purpose. Here's to a new year of growth, connection, and hope. Let it begin with us.
Amen. Bonnie, a roll call, if you would, please.
Walter,
Here.
Benz,
Here.
Nelson, Morris,
Here.
McAllister, Henschel,
I'm here.
Flynn,
Here.
Andrews,
Here.
Seifert.
Here. Thank you. So moving on, approval of the minutes. Looking for a motion.
Move to approve the minutes of August 13th study session and August 20th regular meeting as presented.
Second.
All right, a motion by Commissioner Henschel, second by Commissioner Andrews. Approval of the minutes as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Thank you. Bonnie, we're going to move on to first public comment.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners, which is required to be open to the public under the provisions of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board may state his or her name and township or district. Providing a specific address is not recommended. Persons may address the board on matters or issues which are relevant and germane to county government as determined by the chairperson. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, allow an additional opportunity or time to speak if determined germane and necessary to the discussion. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4, Order of Business. However, public comment may be received during the meeting when a specific agenda topic is scheduled for discussion by the board. Prior to the first public comment, the chairperson will indicate the topics on the agenda for which public comment will be accepted. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hands or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson. The board shall not comment or respond to a person who is addressing the board. Silence or non-response from the board should not be interpreted as disinterest or disagreement by the board. Please be respectful and refrain from personal or political attacks.
Thank you. Anybody that's willing to speak at first public comment, please just go right up to the podium and let us know who you are.
Good morning. I didn't expect such a small meeting and be first. Dave Friedman, Garfield Township. I know of your interest in mental health. It's come up many times, and I just wanted to share some information that you may or may not be aware of. I am a board member of Northern Michigan regional entity known as NMRE, which handles the funding for Northern Lakes, and I'm also the appointee to the Northern Lakes Community Mental Health Center. Recently, the State of Michigan Department of Health and Human Services has published a request for proposal for prepaid inpatient plan, which is due at the end of this month to the state. Today, Northern Michigan Regional Entity, NMRE, is actually the PIHP for this region. After this bid is awarded, probably in the fall of 2026, the entire system is going to change if they go forward with it. Number one, the number of managing entities, those folks like NMRE, will be reduced from 10 to 3 statewide, which means that the northern region will be covered all the way through the Upper Peninsula as well. Then the rest of the state is 1, and then the populated area around Detroit will be the 3rd. This equates to a substantial loss of local input and control. Community mental health centers today have close ties to the managing entity. Through this bid, they will lose that. Services will be disrupted during the transition. This will also disrupt patient care in the short term and possibly the long run as well. There is concern that the larger entities will prioritize profit over cost. When you look at it, when you say, you know, right now there's millions of dollars of funding going through Northern and MRE, which is the block grant funds, Medicaid funds, and they're also responsible for the alcohol funds as well, that are the alcohol tax funds. That money will now be going to a different private, not-for-profit entity. The NMRE cannot bid on this. You need to know that as well. Whether the providers will change is unknown. The bid talks about provider network adequacy. It doesn't not name providers per se. The assumption is that mental health centers like Northern Lakes will continue, but there's no assurance to the best of my knowledge right now. I do not know if there'll be a legal challenge to this. Prior to it, I've been in states where they have done similar things, and there have been legal challenges. Right now, there is none. The bid is due again at the end of the month, and therefore, it will probably happen unless there's a major legal challenge. I will send this information along so you have it in writing, but thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Freeman. Anyone else this morning for public comment? Going once, going twice, third time's a charm. Thank you very much, everyone. Approval of the agenda. So I'm going to make a motion, we approve the agenda as presented with one addition. We would like to add under special items, is that where you want it?
Just department items would be good.
Sorry, excuse me, under departmental items for specifics to an escrow payment to Garfield Township in regards to the Project Alpha.
Item 9C then?
There. 9E.
E, that's what I meant.
Thank
That's
you.
right, those letters are tiny, man, I get you.
Thank you.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Thank you. Motion by Commissioner Seifert, second by Commissioner Henschel. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Thank you, everyone. We're going to move on to the consent calendar. Bonnie?
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with by one commission motion without discussion. Any member of the commission, staff, or the public may ask that any item on the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. Such requests will be automatically respected. If any item is not removed from the consent calendar, the action noted, receive and file, or approval, is approved by a single commission action adopting the consent calendar. A, receive, number 1, Safe Harbor Shelter Utilization Report, July 2025. Number 2, Duck Lake Lake Levels Agreement. Number 3, Department of Health and Human Services Board, July 2025 meeting minutes. Number 4, Board of Public Works, July 2025 meeting minutes. Number 5, Traverse Area District Library, May and June 2025 meeting minutes. Number 6, Northwest Regional Airport Authority, July 2025 meeting minutes. Number 7, 2025 General Fund Financial Report, July 2025. B, approvals. Number 1, Health Department, annual renewal of the Child and Adolescent Health Center Grant Agreement, K-Town Youth Health. Number 2, 2025 budget amendments. Number 3, Health Department 2024 Annual Report receipt. Number 4, Health Department annual renewal of the Child and Adolescent Health Center Grant Agreement, Youth Health and Wellness Center. Number 5, Commission on Aging outside agency funding for 2026. Number 6, Commission on Aging Meals on Wheels contract, 1-year renewal. Number 7, National Opioid Litigation Settlement with Purdue Pharma LP and generic manufacturers. Number 8, City Commission recommendation for Board of Public Works appointment. Number 9, request to suspend the fund balance policy. Number 10, geothermal test, Project Alpha.
All righty, do I have anybody wants to remove anything from the consent calendar?
I move to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Second.
Wow, buying a lottery ticket today. Consent calendar
It is
approved as
horrible.
presented by Commissioner Henschel, support by Commissioner Flynn. Roll call vote, please.
Spence?
Yes.
Morris?
Yes.
Henschel?
Yes.
Flynn?
Yes.
Andrews?
Yes.
Walter?
Yes.
Seifert?
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to 7, special order of business, 7A, Health Department.
Good morning. Mr. Leahy is here to introduce 2 special guests today, and I'll let Mike handle it.
Good morning, Board. Mike Leahy, Health Department. And I appreciate the consent approval, too, as there was a number of items from the Health Department on there. So I have 2 distinguished guests with me here today from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Laura De La Ramage and Molly Cotent. And they are here to present our Health Department and our board our certificate of accreditation from this previous accreditation cycle here. So quick words from me on accreditation, and then I'm going to let the experts as well have some words. But really, accreditation is a process that we take very seriously in local public health when it comes to delivering services, whether they be mental health services, medical services, services to our residents on their well septic programs. We aren't just making those rules up in our own offices, right? There's a standard of care, a standard of expectation that we want to ensure we're providing that level of service to our community. So that process is done through an accreditation process with local health departments across the state. I believe there's 45 local health departments across the state. We went through this process, I believe it was 2023. We are on the docket for August of 26, so we'll be stepping into this process again as a health department shortly. With that, I want to turn the mic over to our guest to share some words.
Morning, everyone. My name's Laura De La Rambellier, and hi, I'm Molly Cotant. So we're the director and deputy director for the Division of Local Health Services at MDHHS. So we oversee the accreditation program for all 11 programs that are in the accreditation program. And we also are the reviewers and oversight for the powers and duties program. So that's to assure that local health departments are performing their powers and duties under the code in accordance with the law. And I just want to say thank you to Mike and to all of you for your support to the health department. It's a great deal of work to undergo accreditation. It's existed since 1997. It's actually the first local public health accreditation program in the nation. You may have heard occasionally from the Public Health Accreditation Board, that's national accreditation. That was actually based upon what was built here in Michigan. And I just want to also share that the local public health accreditation program is not a one-way top-down effort. It is a joint effort. All the standards are reviewed every 3 years jointly between work groups of local health department experts in those programs along with their state colleagues. to come up with any updates to the standards so that there is continuous quality improvement built into the program every 3 years. So it does take us every 3 years to go through all of the local health departments. We did have a pause during COVID, so that way we stood out of the way of local public health. We had ample examples of how local public health was adhering to the law and performing its duties under the code and under other state and federal laws during COVID, and picked back up again in April 2023. So in particular, with Grand Traverse, I just wanted to share a couple of things that stood out to us in the report from the last cycle. In the powers and duties portion of the report, we noted that Grand Traverse County Health Department partners with Munson Healthcare and local providers on the Healthy Futures program to support pregnant women and mothers of young children. A nurse from the health department provides one-on-one support to mothers in their homes with a focus on breastfeeding, vaccinations, follow-up care, and connections to primary care, as well as a newer intervention related to blood pressure monitoring. Women can be referred to the program at any time, and the program is open to anyone in the community. In addition, Grand Traverse County Health Department conducts outreach for homeless individuals in the jurisdiction, including connecting pregnant women to available services. One social worker was even recently able to obtain a cooler for a pregnant client that allowed her to keep her WIC grocery items cool despite not having regular access to electricity. In the immunizations program, Grand Traverse County Health Department was recognized for having a great relationship with the local homeless shelters and does yearly flu vaccine clinics and COVID vaccine clinics at local churches to serve the population. Grand Traverse County had an outbreak of varicella during the cycle's review, and they set up a clinic at workers' housing, waived vaccine administration fees, and handed out bus vouchers so that clients could get to the health department for their next dose. In the HIV/AIDS and STI programs, Grand Traverse staff are actively promoting HIV/STI services in the community by consistently updating their clinic promotional materials, social media, and participating in community events. Staff also deliver sexual health materials to local organizations regularly. GTCHD created a process that makes all people feel comfortable with HIV/STI testing, including those who are on bond or are juveniles. And finally, the WIC program noted that the WIC team has integrated so well with the maternal infant health program, which are two separate programs but work very closely with one another. Every single one of their MIHP nurses and registered dietitians have trained or are in training in WIC and are able to seamlessly provide services to WIC clients so that you don't have a situation in which a client comes in and you say, okay, well, I'm sorry, now you have to repeat everything you just told me five doors down. So it's better customer service. So with that, I do have a certificate to present to Mike here. So congratulations, Mike.
And I just want to add really quick that this is a very labor-intensive process, and the credit goes to staff to pulling this all together. We have a accreditation coordinator that's going to begin working on this this fall in prep for August. And just to the relationship we have with the state health department. It is a very collaborative one. I recognize how much you all want to see these programs in our local jurisdictions, right? And it's a very supportive working relationship, so appreciative to that. So thank you, board, for taking the time to see this.
Before they leave, if there are no questions, I would just like to let the board know that over the last year, Laura and Molly have been extremely helpful to the county and getting us through some of the bumps that we've been experiencing. And they know this because I've told them this, but Laura and Molly both are, in my opinion, emblematic of what every bureaucratic employee should be. They're very responsive, they're very helpful, and they're very informative in everything you do. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for presenting here today. We appreciate that. Nice job, Mr. Leahy.
Thank you.
And to your staff, our thanks. Mr. Lassers, you make sure I get a couple of those, would you please? Thank you. All right, we're going to move right on to 9A. Oh, boy, it just never seems to end. So we have some more. If you look at the attachment, there are quite a few more vacancies that are coming up. I know that we have one ad hoc that is meeting on Friday, and we have another ad hoc that's still working on its first meeting, which I will be fixing today, this afternoon. But I'd like, for the sake of time, I'd like to do some changes, but, and I'll get you this list, Bonnie, I have it written down. You're welcome. So I'd like to have 2 ad hocs. I'm just going to do some changes to the existing ad hocs already. So we'll call it ad hoc A, which is currently myself, TJ, and Daryl. Because of Daryl's personal commitments, which I appreciate his priorities are straight, I would like to have him removed from that ad hoc and have him replaced with Commissioner Walter. And that will include BPW, DHHS, Brownfield, Building Authority, COA, Parks and Rec, and the Airport Authority. Go ahead.
Could you repeat that?
So
BPW,
BPW, DHHS, Brownfield, Building Authority, COA, Parks and Rec, and the airport.
thank you.
And then for ad hoc B, which is currently Commissioner McAllister, Spence, and Flynn, Commissioner Henschel, I would ask that you would take the place of Commissioner McAllister. He also has some personal items that he has priorities over, which I also support.
Happy to do that. Which committees?
I haven't got that far
Oh,
yet, but they are meeting this Friday, so double check to make sure.
Do you know what time?
1 o'clock?
I think I can do that.
Beautiful. Thank you very much for that. So you're going to have Beta, so ad hoc B is Beta, Health Finance, the Library, Building Codes, which is different from the Building Authority, EDC, and Veterans Affairs.
Okay. Would it make more sense to swap those as I sit on the airport and I don't sit on any of those committees?
Well, that's good, because I kind of want some fresh perspective, if you would. That's why I was thinking of you,
Okay. If that's what you need, Mr. Chairman, I'm here to serve.
especially on a couple of them we can talk about later.
Okay.
Who are the 3 commissioners again, Scott?
The 3 commissioners are going to be Commissioner Henschel, Commissioner Spence, Commissioner Flynn. Commissioner Henschel will be replacing Commissioner McAllister. Do you have a question, Commissioner Flynn?
Is there another time for these new December 31st going out? So this will come back again? So
That is
be
correct.
interviewed
So-
just on Friday, and then we'll have a second interview process for the new, okay.
Yeah, so
Wanna
this
double check.
Friday, you're going to end up collecting Beta, Health Finance, and Building Codes, and I think EDC.
I believe EDC's on there.
So depending upon some struggles, we might, next meeting, add more to that, but
But there's one Beta seat that's currently open, that's ready for interviews, and I understand there's a new seat coming open, and you may need to hold, you'll have to figure that out, but there's now one already and one coming due.
The interviews for, that we will be holding this Friday, there are currently a vacancy on Beta, EDC, Health Finance, and the Board of Appeals. Those are the ones that we will be holding for Friday for current vacancies.
Thank you for that.
And I apologize, I haven't looked at my email this morning. Have those applications gone out?
They will go out today.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
all right. Yes, Bonnie?
Since you're talking about vacancies, there are 2 vacancies on the Board of Canvassers. Their term expires October 31st. If you remember that the election of the Board of Canvassers has to be within 10 days of the annual meeting. Our annual meeting is September 17th, so that is going to be a special order of business for you to elect a Democrat and Republican canvasser for the next 4 years.
On September 17th,
September 17th, yes.
we'll have recommendations.
Yes, I have, I can send them to you ahead of time if you'd like. They're in the packet. The Democrats selected 3 people, and the Republicans selected 3 people for you to vote from.
Fantastic.
And I believe some of them are going to be here on the 17th to speak.
So I'll just note that that is a very short business meeting because we're doing interviews for the health officers that day. So I don't want to speak for the board, but I would encourage anyone to maybe send something ahead of time, or we're not going to have a,
I will
ton
send
of
you
time for
the
a-
list of the nominees and any letters I have received from them.
Yeah, we're not going to have like an interview with them. It's
No.
not gonna- It's just a vote.
I think you will recognize all the names.
Thanks for the heads up. Yeah. Was that a motion, Seifert, about these ad hocs?
It's
or-
going to be.
Okay.
So I'm going to make the motion, we approve the ad hocs as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Motion by Seifert, seconded by Commissioner Henschel.
One question.
Yes, sir.
You're replacing Commissioner Nelson. Did you talk to him about that? Or is this a surprise?
He is unavailable for the next 3 weeks, and I was told that we need to get it done now.
Okay.
so-
I'm just wondering if you've spoken with him.
I have spoken with him about it,
Okay,
yes, yes.
thank you.
I have. I have not spoken with Mr. McAllister, Commissioner McAllister, excuse me, but he has talked to me about some other things, so I'll reach out to him this afternoon. So I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Thank you very much, everyone. I'll move right along to the audit, 2024 audit report. Mr. Bott?
Good morning, Commissioners. So with this item are two documents. The first document is a letter, it's called the governance letter, which is addressed to you folks, to the Board of Commissioners. And I believe it's 2 pages, it's fairly short. It covers the things that our auditor is required to communicate to you as the governing body. It does mention a few things. The second document is the audit report itself, 200-plus pages. There's a lot there to go through. We did, if you recall, have to request an extension with the state to file. That report was due initially on June 30th. We requested an extension, which they did not approve, but we did file the report by July 25th, and for the most part, we're back in grace with the state of Michigan, so to speak. We have a couple of things that we need to deal with that we'll talk about later in the agenda. But I did hand out a one-page summary, and I can't take credit for that. There's an individual sitting in the room, our IT director, Mr. Dupuis, who ran that document through, correct me if I'm wrong, ChatGPT, and I think he used the prompt TLDR, which stands for too long, didn't read. I didn't make this up.
Acronyms.
He did that for me out of the kindness of his heart. I didn't know, I'm not that techie, to be honest with you. But this is the summary that ChatGPT produced. And I was a little skeptical, but I did have to admit to Cliff that I was impressed. The information is correct, it's accurate, and unlike me, who would have probably provided a biased summary, this, in my opinion, is totally unbiased. I'm not that well-versed in artificial intelligence, but it did hit the things that you should probably have in a one-page summary, starting with the opinion. We did receive an unmodified opinion, which is the best. That's the opinion that you want. In layman's terms, that's what's known as a clean audit opinion. And then you can see, that's on page 20 in the large document, if you want to write some of these page numbers down. Since I was given this document, and it was really very helpful, I thought I should share it with you. When you get into the financial highlights, it talks about 4 key metrics: net position, total revenues, total expenses, and the surplus, and it compares 2024 with the prior year. The net position increased, and that can be found on page 27. There's a summary, some summary financial information in the audit report before you get into the financial statements. The total revenues are on page 28. Our revenues did go up significantly from 131 million to from 114 to 131. That's on page 28. Correspondingly, though, with that increase in revenues, our expenditures went up. That information is also on page 28 in the full report. And importantly, when you look at the entity-wide statements, our net position increased, which is also found on page 28, from 6 million to 9, almost 10 million. And then it breaks it down by activities in the middle of the document. Our governmental activities net position increased by almost 10.7 million. That's a good increase for our county government. That can be found on page 29 if you want to look at that a little closer. And our business type activities did have a decrease in net position, which the main component of that was the Grand Traverse Pavilions. Since 12/31/2024, the pavilions has made up what they had lost in 2023. And I looked yesterday, their cash balance is a little over $10 million, so the pavilions has really turned things around here in the last couple of years. Talks about a few of the main funds, our general fund, and then also the ARPA fund. It does give our unassigned fund balance of $20.9 million for the general fund. You can find that on page 37 in the report. And then the ARPA fund, it doesn't mention fund balance, but it is indicating the amount of ARPA funds that we have not expended at the end of 2024 at about $4.6 million. That also can be found on page 37 in the report. And I did say I think this is an unbiased summary because it does indicate there were some adjustments and findings. Those are highlighted in the next section and are labeled as such. The first one is there were some adjustments they had to make to the ARPA revenues. I report quarterly, and at January 31st, I was reporting information as of December 31st. But there was additional invoicing that we had received after I did that report that we had to adjust for with the audit report. You know, it just didn't have the information when I had to file the report at January 31st that I had when the auditors were here. So my report that I submitted to Treasury didn't necessarily match up with proper accounting. But those adjustments were made and were included in the numbers that are in the report. They did have some recommendations regarding our bank reconciliations need to be completed in a more timely manner. They are recommending that the treasurer provide interest or investment reports to the board on a monthly basis. And the last one warrants some explanation. Because we have federal funds, anytime we make a payment to a vendor or set up a vendor in our accounts payable system, we need to check to make sure that they're not on a federal list, and it's called a debarment or a suspended list. We were doing that, and we have been doing that. The auditors never ask us about that. We are documenting that. That's a finding that should not have been reported. We were doing that for all of 2024. They simply didn't ask us the question. So, but the report was filed, and I can't change it at this point. So, and then they do indicate some economic, a snapshot at the bottom. All of those facts and figures are accurate. They can be traced back into sections of the report, and they do give a bottom line statement, which I feel is also accurate. We have some process issues that we need to deal with, and we are currently making those changes as they have recommended. So if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you.
Commissioner Walter.
Can you give us an overview of why it was late and the findings that came from it? I'm kind of surprised the treasurer isn't here to share some information today, but do you feel like you could speak
Well,
on his
we did have, we had a number of adjustments that had to be made concerning interest revenues that were recorded, and investment balances that need to be adjusted, and the time we were making those adjustments those adjustments were being made in May and some even in June. I can't fully explain why we didn't have our records current and up to date. We were working very closely with the treasurer. The treasurer is relatively new in that role and just was not current in having that information recorded. We did complete all of that work, but that was mid-June, and it did not give us enough time to turn the report around. I had talked to both our auditor and to Administrator Alger. I wanted to push to file that report on time, but our auditor said they did not have enough time to complete the report and file it, so.
I would also like to add that the auditor that we were using is a relatively new auditor as well. Took over for Peter, correct, Peter?
Peter Hefner.
And Peter has been an auditor that we've used for a few years, so he's familiar with our system and was very, prepared for our audit. The new auditor did not come with that preparation and was kind of learning as they went. So there were some challenges with request for documents coming very late in the process that we should have actually gotten well in advance. And so doesn't excuse the late recordings of interest and all that, but it did complicate it. We submitted a request for extension to the state of Michigan for the audit. They granted the request, and then they did the application, and then they said no, it wasn't a good enough reason. So we had 30 days to complete, and we did so, and we are now filed.
Was the treasurer invited to be here today to talk about these issues?
I didn't invite him.
I would like the treasurer to come at our next available meeting to come and share, because it feels like most of these issues are related to the treasurer's office.
We will ask him.
Is that a motion?
That's a motion.
Support.
All right, we have a motion from Commissioner Walter, support with Commissioner Andrews, to ask the Grand Traverse County Treasurer to come here and talk about the audit. Any more discussion, comments? Go ahead, Commissioner Henschel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to suggest that we could also individually, as we have questions, actually go down and talk to him. We don't have to necessarily have him in front of us. I also want to point out the treasurer is elected by the people. He does not answer to this board. We co-op together on the county budget, but if he doesn't choose to come, we can't. Well, we could compel him, I guess, to give a report. But how he operates, the treasurer, just like the sheriff, it's a cooperation with the budget. But beyond that, they get to choose how they run things. So, I'm curious. Is this something the full board needs to have him here in an official capacity at a meeting to ask questions, or could we just pop on down and say, hey, explain this to me? That's my thought.
I shared the request because this is important public information, why this wasn't filed with the state and why these things aren't done in a timely manner. And I would like that to be public information, not a private conversation that I have with him. I think a lot of people would find it useful.
He is.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
You're all right.
So I guess I would have a couple of responses. I concur that, obviously, he's an elected official, but obviously also we have a close relationship. The motion may fail, or he may choose not to comply with it if he believes it's beyond what his obligations are, and we can deal with that at that time. I concur with Commissioner Walter that this is an issue of public importance. And I think it's collaborative for us to figure out collectively to make sure we don't have similar concerns going forward.
Any more comments?
Yep. Just to concur here too, but transparency, and if he is elected by the people might have these questions, and rather than bother him all day with these questions personally by the public, he can come and discuss this, and so they can have one spot to answer here.
And although I hear you, Commissioner Henschel, and I see where you're coming from, I think that it would be a real time saver, like Commissioner Flynn just expressed, and also we get the same messaging together, rather than going down there separately. Plus, it would save me some time, out of respect for all of our time, just to have him come and address this question.
I just want to clarify, the motion, so the Board of Commissioners can, under state law, compel an elected official to come give a report. If they refuse to come, the Board of Commissioners can remove them from office.
I don't think that was the motion.
But I didn't know if that is the compulsory portion.
No, it was
or is
just
this
inviting, I was
an
just
invitation?
inviting the
Okay.
treasurer to come and share the treasurer department's input on the
Okay,
adjustments
so
and
it's simply an
findings.
invitation, and I'm totally in favor of inviting him.
We're not out.
One more comment. Commissioner Morris, do you have anything to say, add to this? You can make something up, it's okay.
I think I'll do that. No. Gosh, I see both sides. And I think transparency is important. I also have been new at my job before and know what it feels like to be called on the carpet.
But it was also a learning experience, so it helped you.
I understand that. I do. I'm struggling here, so that's it.
Well, I concur with, pretty much with everybody in some way, shape, or form or another. Regardless of his position being new, I do think it's important that he does come and say, hey, this is why our office was involved in the audit being late. On the other hand, I don't agree with the formal request. It always seems like there's an escalation of use of force, if you will, quote unquote. Why don't we just ask him?
That's what it is. Invite
No,
him
a
to
motion is a
come.
formal request, whereas somebody could say, hey, can you come down here and talk to us? That would be a simple, easy thing to do. That doesn't happen, then we do a formal request, and then we follow what Commissioner Henschel was talking about, where we just turn up the heat. But before we vote,
Well, the administration often tells us they act by board action. and
they
they're-
do,
They,
I don't. Matt, can you comment on Commissioner Henschel's comments about removing somebody from office?
oh geez, talk about
Not much we can
escalation.
do.
This is-
Yeah,
He brought it up, it's part of the record, people are gonna ask.
this shouldn't be
Yeah,
contentious.
just to clarify it.
Can't hear you, Matt. It wasn't me this time, I swear.
All right,
I
Matt.
know.
How about now?
Yep.
Guys hear me?
Yep.
So under 4611K, the county board can require a county officer to make a report under oath to the county board of commissioners on any subject connected with their duties of their office. That is, of course, something you could do. That's not what I understand this request to be. There are very few times where this is utilized. It's generally after there's been quite a bit of back and forth over an issue with an elected official. I'm not sure of any instances where somebody has been removed for a failure to report in case law. I'm sure some exist. But I think what you're doing now is simply an informational request, which would not be the same as the 4611K report under oath.
Thank you. Any questions for Matt? We brought that up. Okay, I apologize. There is a motion on the floor. I believe it was Commissioner Walter. Will support Commissioner Andrews? Yep. To ask Grand Traverse County Treasurer to come and represent his findings in the audit or his participation in the audit. Is that an accurate representation, Commissioner Walter? I don't want to butcher
Yeah,
it.
share his insights into the audit adjustments and findings.
Thank you.
May we do that October 1st? As Commissioner Andrews did state, we're trying to keep the 17th very small. If we could do it, yeah, thank you.
Any questions on that, Clerk Shealy?
No, invite treasurer to a future meeting to explain audit adjustments and findings.
Can you roll call vote that for me, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I think actually it was his participation in the audit, right?
Correct.
Because there's
Shares insight.
two things going
meeting.
on. One is the information that was provided in order to complete the audit. The audit's adjustments and findings relate to something else, which is the interest reports, which I was going to get to after this discussion.
So we wanted to say invite treasurer to a future meeting to explain his participation in the audit?
That's what I
Just-
heard the motion was.
No.
Not the audit adjustments and findings. The audit adjustments and findings is what Dean
Yeah,
just
that's what
reported to us.
Commissioner Walters said, so I don't know.
Well, no, it is of interest to get his and the department's perspective on the audit adjustments and findings as it relates to the treasurer's role in the audit.
So his participation in the audit adjustment and findings, you want to leave that in there?
I wanted to include both, I guess, because I do want him to share, you know, for example, one of the findings was recommending that the treasurer's office bring us monthly investment reports. I don't know what their participation is with some of these other items, so.
I guess my concern is that if I'm the treasurer and I hear this motion to present on the audit adjustments and findings, I don't know that the treasurer has any insight over the ARPA revenue or payables or bank reconciliations or some of these other things. So we're just talking about to the extent it involved.
Sure.
My understanding of the motion was there was a delay. Part of the delay was lack of information or information that couldn't be provided in a timely way at the time of the audit. And I understood that what we're trying to do is to make sure that whatever those delays are have been worked through systematically, as opposed to the contents of the audit itself.
I guess I'm looking for both because that department is included in the recommendations.
Yes, and I was going to actually make a motion separately because I thought your initial motion was his participation in the audit. There's a separate recommendation by the auditors, independent of the timeliness of what happened with the process of the audit. There's a recommendation by the auditors that we get an interest report, right? How much interest is being earned every month and how it's being invested. I think that's a separate thing than how the participation in the process of the audit went down this spring. And I think we need both. But I understood the original motion was participation. That's why I didn't raise the recommendation to bring monthly interest reports. Monthly interest reports are a different thing than just how did the process go down, in my understanding.
Oh, I just saw it as all related, and I mean, if you want to make a separate motion, that's fine.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor.
What is the motion?
Commissioner Walter, will you repeat your motion?
For the third or fourth time, sure. I'll make the motion that we invite our county treasurer to come to the October 1st meeting, if he's available. If not the October 1st, then the soonest available meeting, to share the treasurer's role in our audit issue. Is that clear enough?
Invite the treasurer on October 1st meeting or the soonest possible after that to explain his role and participation in our audit issue.
Is that general enough? Okay.
Ready for a roll call?
I'm ready for a roll call if you are.
I am.
Thank you.
Morris?
Sure, yes.
Henschel?
Yes, please.
Flynn?
Yes.
Andrews?
Yes.
Walter?
Yes.
Spence?
Yes.
And Seifert?
No. Motion carries. Thank you, everyone. Did you want to make another motion? Because I
No.
have something to say.
Actually, I would like, well,
No, go ahead.
I was
like
going
you.
to ask our finance director if you could just elaborate a little bit more on that audit adjustment, provide a monthly investment reports to the board. What is that? What page is that on? Can you elaborate? on that?
Well, their recommendation is very specific. They feel that the treasurer should provide an investment report to the board on a regular basis. I was surprised that they said monthly, but, you know, the treasurer is managing a significant amount of cash and funds, and we do have a firm that he works with. But and related to that, though, the bank reconciliations, the bank reconciliations when we were doing the audit were not all completed as they should be in a timely manner. So we were making adjustments to, you know, our cash accounts, primarily recording additional interest revenues that were earned on those accounts. And those adjustments were being made end of May, early June on some of the accounts. So that's specific, I think, to both points. I mean, you should reconcile your bank accounts on a regular basis, you know, monthly, and you should be looking at all of your investments on a regular basis to make sure that you've got those investment earnings recorded. Investments too, the market values can change. They're usually valued in using some mechanism, and if you have losses on those investments, you want to make sure you know that, you know, those investments are holding their value, or you may have to liquidate investments if they're, you know, not performing the way they should be. So I think that's why the auditors are raising those issues. You need to be aware that those are issues with processes and internal accounting controls that that elected official is responsible for.
To that point, in the audit, in the financial report on page 28, which you referred us to earlier, under interest, under revenues, it looks like our governmental interest revenues, governmental activity revenues, come to over $2 million. And that number is down from what it was in 2023 for governmental activities, but it's down orders of magnitude for business-type activities between 23 and 24. I suspect some of that reflects the fact that we distributed ARPA dollars as opposed to holding on to ARPA dollars that were accruing interest in 2023. Is that a fair summary?
Correct. We would have had higher ARPA funds at the end of 23, and over the course of 2024, we expended or used $7 to $8 million in funds.
Is ARPA business or governmental?
It's a governmental activity.
So what is the why did the business type activities interest revenue plummet from 1.2 to 500,000? That's not the ARPA.
I would have to look at that. Your main funds that are in that business activity category are our construction code inspections fund, but the big player is the pavilions. I would have to look at that to see. Another component, though, that's part of that interest earning or interest revenue is we are required with our investments to adjust them to the lower of cost or market, and that's only usually done at our financial reporting date, December 31st. We may carry an investment that we purchased at, $500,000 that's valued at $495,000. So you have to recognize any reduction to that lower value, and there's some of that that's involved in the year-end numbers too. The market values of our investments do change from time to time, and that change, whether it's a plus or a minus, goes to the interest revenue account. So it's not just interest that's earned on interest-bearing accounts, it's that change in market value. We have improved. We've recovered some of that cost. We were purchasing investments. Some of the investments are not 6 months, 1 year. They could be 2 years, 3 years. They're laddered out for a period of time. And if you recall, interest rates were low probably 4 or 5 years ago, and then they increased. Well, when the interest rate goes up, the market value on an investment, if it's a certificate of deposit or some government-backed security, it has a negative effect on the value of that investment. So there's some of that loss that we're recovering. We're going to hold those investments until maturity. We won't realize a loss, unless we sell them, but that's not the plan. So there's that component that's in those numbers too.
So, generally speaking, as we have a unassigned fund balance of over 20 million from 20.9 million, 21 million. We have other unassigned, committed fund balances from pension, capital improvement. We've got a lot of money in English sitting in the bank at the moment, and that is going to increase as we move forward, understanding that we're then going to turn around and bond in probably a year or two, right, for some serious facilities. And given interest is a revenue item that we count on to keep the part of a balanced budget, I do see real value in us having a better understanding of our investment strategy for the money that's sitting in the bank. And obviously our auditors do too. So to that end, I am going to propose that we invite the treasurer to provide a investment report related to interest to this board. And I'm going to ask for guidance whether monthly is too often, or if monthly is what Dean, administration, what the board thinks is a cadence, or is that a question? Should we ask the treasurer to tell us at what cadence? But I think we need more of a understanding about how we're investing, what sort of interest we're getting, and those sorts of questions. I understand. I recall we had a gentleman come about it, I don't know if it was a year ago, and gave us an investment. They were going to help the treasurer with some investment strategizing, and we haven't heard since then, to my knowledge, how that's going. So anyway, I'm going to make a motion. I guess that's not a motion. It's a request for input into what a motion might look like. And I guess related to that, I just want to check in with our attorney. That's your code, Matt. That we can make can we direct our treasurer to provide a investment report to the board, whether it's monthly, quarterly, periodically? Is that within, to Commissioner Henschel's point, he's independently elected. Is this recommendation within our authority?
Yes, I believe it is.
I think given, like a lot of, I don't know if you officially made
I'm just turning it over for
Okay.
discussion.
So, like a lot of reports we get, it's in the packet, right? It doesn't mean that he has to come every month and talk through it. Although, when they gave their annual report, that is helpful to have him or his department talk through it, and maybe this and other investment. But even if it's in there monthly as a receive and file is helpful, especially given, all of the things that you mentioned.
I guess what I envision is that the first month, or the first quarter time, it would be helpful for us to get an in-person to go along with it, and then thereafter a receive and file. Just because I think the format, and is this the information you want? I think it's similar to what we've asked Dean to provide, and is now in our packet, and for consumption.
Perhaps, I think what you're looking for is best, we have that as conversation when the treasurer is here and say, hey, we're concerned, or we have questions about how much interest we're accruing. What's our investment strategy? What does that look like? What does a report from you look like? Is that monthly, quarterly, biannually, which I'm hoping it's a lot more often than that. Maybe that's a conversation we have with him when he's here and make the request. And you can make that in the form of a motion if you like. But just, we don't have enough information, I think, from his office to start saying in demands like, hey, you need to give me a monthly report about how you're spending our interest or investing our interest or how we're accruing our interest. I think we're taking shots in the dark there with that without the treasurer being here. I mean, everybody's all about investing in the stock market because it's making money until it's not.
So,
Well, it's a little more complicated than that. We're not talking about, we don't have public funds invested in the stock market. Okay, and not in that way, right? So,
It's still MERS is still in the stock market.
they're they're outperforming the county. At least they were last time we checked.
But we're talking about other investments. I don't want the public to think that all of these funds are in the stock market.
they're not.
And I think that's fine. We may not need a motion. We'll just ask him when he's here. But, I mean, I also defer to the professionals recommending that they provide monthly investment reports to the board.
So I am going to make a motion, and I guess the motion will be that we invite the treasurer to provide a investment report, interest investment report to the board the next time he comes. And then at that point, we can decide if we want to ask him we can talk to him if he wants to, if he can do it monthly, if it's in a format that's useful, and other things. But the motion is to invite him next time he comes to the board to please provide an investment report.
Second. Do you have that, Clerk Shealy? Sweet. Any more comments, questions, concerns regarding the motion on the floor? We're going to roll call vote that one too, just to equal.
Henschel,
Yes.
Flynn,
Yes.
Andrews,
Yes.
Walter,
Yes?
Spence,
Yes.
Morris,
Yes.
Seifert.
Yes. Thank you. Any more for Mr. Bott on that?
I just want to, again, thank the Dean for this report. I look forward to it. I have a hard copy that I print every year and has all kinds of tabs on it, and this is full of really good information. I appreciate that it lags a year, but it is an immense undertaking, and it is an invaluable resource, so thank you.
If you have questions, you should come and see me. I'll try to answer them.
You would prefer that than if I make a motion at the...
Either way, we should be
That was
able
a
to
joke.
answer any question about that report.
What was that comment earlier? Tree killer?
I print it once.
But appreciate that. So, thank you. And I agree with Commissioner Andrews, Director Bott. We wouldn't be where we're at without you.
In the past, you had like bound copies of those printed up and distributed to the commission, as I recall. Is that, and I think you once showed me in your archives a whole bunch of old ones. Do others want a copy? Does anyone else find it? No?
The digital copy is fine for me. You don't need to print something for me.
You're an anachronism, Commissioner
I
Andrews.
am.
But to bring up circle back around to a comment Director Bott made, and using Mr. Dupuy's input, and I saw an email somewhere about this, about using AI and technology and leveraging it to go from 200 some odd pages to a single sheet, which I super appreciate. In the future, I'm going to recommend that we do an ad hoc for technology and leveraging technology. Not only is there some kind of savings for staffing perhaps, but to be more accurate, I mean, we are under a FOIA crisis, quote unquote, because of lack of staffing, the amount of FOIA requests that we've received in the last 30 days. And so that was where it would be shining, and it would free up some staff to do things as long as it's done accurately. So put that in the back of your mind that you want to throw your hat in that ring.
Well, specific to that, if Mr. Dupuy was in the room, I'd let him kind of freelance this, but he has, we have had several discussions about how the county uses AI, and he would like to have almost like a policy and
There he is.
procedure.
There he is. You must have heard us talking about him.
Mr. Dupuy, would you mind giving us your thoughts on creating a hub for AI?
Certainly. Artificial intelligence is taking off. It's making itself known throughout the enterprise. I've suggested that we create a center of excellence for AI, that the board create a policy for AI, for implementation of AI in the county, and then we slow walk it, crawl walk, run it out. We've already, you've already approved one implementation of AI, but that was for 911. I can foresee other departments actually looking at increasing that opportunity. The thing to remember about AI is they use what they call a large language module. That's in the back end. So you have ChatGPT, you have Perplexity, you have all these different ones. It's all based on that LLM, that large language model. And Each one is different. So Perplexity looks at deep state websites. ChatGPT is more presentational. There's generative AI, where you generate something. There's an adjuvant AI, where it'll actually do things for you. So it's really critical that I think this board get ahead of that. And I've been proposing a Center of Excellence for quite some time so that we can get a policy in place so that we can say yes, no, or maybe, looking at some of these applications that are going to be coming down the pike.
Can you get this put on a future agenda?
We can.
I intend to, or we
Well,
intend to.
It's just inviting somebody to come out of nowhere.
Well, my thoughts were that we would put a committee together, and that would be on a future agenda.
Okay.
And I'm going to depend upon his expertise. I know Commissioner Hensel dives in that, and I believe you do quite a bit with that type of thing, too. Commissioner Walter, is that correct? Do with technology and IT, and more, I bet more so than I do, because I still have my original hammer and chisel at home when I put down my thoughts at the end of the day.
See, just as you were speaking, I actually asked ChatGPT to take a look at that financial report, and I just gave it to Dean why would the interest rates drop so much, and I mean, I had that information, I just handed it to him. He said in Dean's speech, but then that kind of backs up what he said, but there's a lot of things to do with it. One of the things you have to be very careful of, AI will hallucinate, so it will give you information that's incorrect. So that's why I feel it's really critical for this county to move forward, that we have a policy in place and that we vet these applications before we just bring them to you for approval.
I concur.
I believe we have a policy we talked about a couple of years back in ChatGPT 3.5 land. Did we ever enact that policy? We kind of started on it, things like if you're using generative AI or large language model AI, you need to say so people realize this was generated by AI. A lot of universities and other big government entities are doing that. I think it's great.
Commissioner Flynn?
Could we stay on agenda and just, I don't feel like this has to do with the department item that we're discussing currently.
Well, it is tangential for sure, but
Looking forward to that report.
Yes,
That
I
discussion.
agree, it's important.
On the agenda.
Cliff, will there be a funding request for your Center of Excellence?
There is, and I would propose that funding request looked at 2027. I think we can slow walk it this first year. We're too far into the budget process to try to bring something that fast to you, but I believe in 2027 we should look at a significant investment.
Excellent.
thank you. All right, so we're going to move right along to C.
Mr. Bott, you want to discuss the deficit elimination plan?
Yes, so the next item in your packet, we did, when we submit the audit report to the state, I included the letter that we received from them on August 7th. 3 of our funds had what's known as a deficit in their net position. They're listed in the letter from the state, including the Grand Traverse Pavilions, Information Technology, and the Motor Pool Fund. The Grand Traverse Pavilions, based on the state guidance, does not need to submit a deficit elimination plan, primarily because their current assets are greater than their current liabilities. So that's good. No plan for them. But the other 2 funds are our internal funds, and on page, in your audit report, if you can just jot this down, the balance sheet or the financial statement is on page 142. The total net position for both information technology and the motor pool was positive, but the components that make up that net position had a negative number. And that's what's causing or requiring us to submit a deficit elimination plan to the state. I had the margins too tight in both of those funds, and you're trying to estimate where you're going to end the year in terms of revenues coming in based on billings that go out, and then ultimately invoices or expenditures, payables that you're going to receive, and I just had my margins too tight for information technology. And the motor pool was the result of our initial expenditures for our work on Project Alpha and the building up on the Franier, those expenditures I moved from the general fund to the motor pool fund, and I didn't realize that that would result in a $34,000 negative unrestricted position. So both those deficits are on me. I just didn't catch them in time to make the adjustments at December 31st that I should have made. As a result, though, we do have to submit a plan to the state as to how we eliminate the deficits in those two funds. I've included that in the packet. It's basically one for each fund with, and my recommendation would be that we appropriate additional funds from the general fund in 2025 to totally cover those deficits. 34,000 would be needed to cover the motor pool, and $66,472 for the information technology fund. And I've included the plans to accomplish that and the resolution that would have to be certified by the clerk if the board would so choose to agree with that recommendation or those recommendations.
Thank you, Mr. Bott. Any comments, questions, or concerns for Mr. Bott? I'll make the motion. We pass the resolution as presented.
Support.
Motion was made by Seifert, support by Andrews. You want to give it to Commissioner Morris?
Yep.
Commissioner Morris? I heard
Thank
you
you.
before I heard her.
I'm louder.
No. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Thank you. Thank you, Director Bott, again.
Thank you.
Is it still your turn for D, 9D? No, it's your turn?
It's Dean's show today.
No. So we have completed the preliminary budget for 2026. We kicked this process off in April with a memo to all department heads and elected officials detailing our goal of essentially operating in status quo mode and trying to recognize that we have potentially significant debt service requirements upcoming, and that we would like to identify up to $3 million between 2025 and 2026 budget to use for potential debt service or down payments, whatever we would like to use. What you have in front of you is a revenue budget of, I'm sorry, I can't see it, $55,907,000. And because we have to have a budget that is balanced per state law, you have an expenditure budget of also $55,907,000. But there is an amount recognized within that expenditure budget for debt service, and that is in the $3 million ballpark. Correct, Dean?
Yeah, yes, we currently have 2.9 million identified for debt service. So we didn't quite hit the 3 million, but we can and will be able to do that when we take another look at the revenues that we're presenting this morning.
So departments, offices, they were very conservative in the approach that they took to get to our request. We didn't have a lot of position requests. We had some reclassification requests, vehicle requests, things that you would normally see in every budget. But the number of FTE requests was significantly less this year than years previous. So anything that has been, that would be a classification within the administration's purview, in the budget process, we have already taken care of those requests, either approved or denied those requests. So you have essentially one person out there that, one FTE request for the crime analyst position through the sheriff's office that remains. That will be presented to you in a future meeting by the sheriff. And essentially, we don't expect, administratively, we don't expect a lot of changes. What I would prefer is that over the next couple of months, this board direct administration on what you would like to see in a packet, in a presentation about what that budget looks like. So all the personnel costs are accounted for. which is the lion's share of our expenses. The revenues have been contemplated. Dean has done a very nice job in a conservative approach to our revenue forecasting and projections. We think we're on solid ground. We would like to hear from you. What type of additional services would you like to see? What type of programs would you like to see? And we can work that into the budget between now and the conclusion of the process.
All right. Any comments or questions for Mr. Ellinger or Director Bach currently? Commissioner Walter?
I just have a few questions on things that are presented here. Is this an okay time to ask that? Okay. I'm looking at page 4 of 4. I'm just going to go from the bottom. Capital improvement. That number is down to 500,000 from over 4 million in this year's budget.
That's correct, and that's a significant difference that you're noting. That amount currently only includes the general fund base appropriation or transfer to the capital improvement fund. Depending on what we may or may not do with our fund balance policy, over the last several years, the main source of funding going into the capital improvement fund or budget has been that amount of our fund balance from the general fund that we transfer for capital improvement. I have not built that in at this point. We do have, based on where we're at with our capital improvement fund this year, we're anticipating that we'll have funds or projects that we won't complete. So there will be a fund balance component that will be added to this budget at some point in time, and we're continuing to work with Mr. Chase on developing what that CIP fund or capital fund looks like. So this number, the 500,000, is just the amount that you see corresponding back to the general fund appropriation at this time.
So the fund balance policy that we agreed to suspend, that would show you $2.7 million transferred to the CIP fund at a future date. We wanted to hold on that because we know that we have a financial analysis coming to the board soon from Stephen Burke and Roger Sweats that will give us an idea on where we stand with potential future debt payments. So we wanted to hold that back until after that discussion, but as soon as that happens, whatever amount we agree to will be transferred to the CIP fund. John and I met this morning. We've got to talk about some of the requests within the CIP. It's roughly 3.6 million, John-ish, but that includes about $1.5 million of fund balance transfer, CIP transfer from 2025. So we want to look at those projects a little bit more deeply and then get that back to you.
My concern that I guess I'm trying to understand is all of this millions of dollars of underfunded maintenance that we've seen the list of, and that number keeps growing, and it feels like we're not getting ahead of it. If some of these projects we aren't completing for various reasons and we're pushing them to the next year, and then there's all these other ones that we're not getting to. Are they being covered? I know not all of them are even in the CIP, but are they being covered somewhere else? Or is there, maybe Mr. Chase can speak to where we are with that.
So I want to just highlight a couple. They're making significant progress in the CIP, and John can give you that direct detail, but what we're looking at doing is, let's take the cameras in the jail. That's a $350,000 expenditure. There's some cell changes in the jail as well. That's a couple $100,000. And what we're looking at is, should we be talking about changing the cell structure within the jail while we are in the middle of a jail project? So those are the discussions. But
Sure, I can appreciate that one. I mean, that's a great example of something, that's within our site, but the list is long of other projects, so.
yeah, John.
Sure. John Chase, Parks and Facilities Director for Grand Traverse County. So thanks for the question. I think we've made great progress. I'm actually quite pleased with the progress we've made so far. There's lots more to go. But to date, we've completed 15 of the projects that were on the initial CIP list for 2025. We've committed 17, so there's 2 additional that are in progress but have not been completed yet. It's a total of 7 additional projects that we think we'll be completing, or we expect to be completing in 2025. So we are currently going through engineering on the rooftop unit at the Law Enforcement Center. We have already committed the jail water heaters and the government center chiller. Those are the 2 extra committed items from before. We're finishing up a bid process for wayfinding signage, and then we'll be adding handicap openers, and we're looking to do a seal and stripe, and some skate park repairs, weather dependent. We're starting to get tight on that. We are requesting to move a few items to 2026. So one of those is the Vasa driveway. If you recall, back in January, February, I forget which one it is, we had moved some money from 2025 to 2026 with the expectation of high hopes to be able to get the Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund grant. And then the historic courthouse exterior work, that one, there's very few in fact, there's really one qualified contractor in the area who has enough experience working with historic buildings. He's booked up to 2026, so we'd like to bring that one to you soon here. We're just working on the bid packet, or the award packet, I guess you might call it, the agenda item. NER overlooks, we've been doing engineering work on the NER overlooks. We're about 90% complete with that engineering work. We've already started doing some of the NER overlook work there. And then we're in the process of doing engineering for historic courthouse steps and the concrete between the jail and the historic courthouse. You might initially think that just take the concrete out, lay new concrete, but there's more to it than that. We have to have specific drawings to be able to give to a contractor so they can know what kind of concrete they're pouring, what the tensile strength is, et cetera. So total budget for the year for capital was $2.914 million, and so far we've committed $1.682, $220,000. The projects that we've committed, the budget was $1,592,000, and so we are over by $90,200, but I'm going to throw that back to the Gov Center first floor, which put us at about $100,000 over. So I'm real pleased with the number of projects that we've completed. We're still working on those projects, but just basically due to timing, we're having to push a few of them. So I hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you for the update.
Good.
Can you, on accounts 403 and 404, one is facilities and one is capital improvement, but it sounds like there's some real overlap between the types of things you do as a facility versus the types of things you do as a capital improvement. So how do you figure out the difference?
So smaller repairs are the things that come out of the 403 facilities budget. When you get into larger things that extend the life of a building or expand the capability of a building or property, that's the kind of thing that ends up going into the capital.
And so we would expect that number is going to go up once we figure out what we're doing with the 2024 fund balance.
Yeah.
Or, basically.
Thank you.
I have a question for, I'm sorry, Commissioner Walter, did you?
Go ahead. I'll circle back.
So I recall a discussion, but I don't recall if it ended in a motion or just discussion, and I understand that it's been a busy spring and summer. But some of these funds that we've seen year over year, like the Mitchell Creek watershed, and there's some other smaller ones we've talked about, there are some of these that we could sunset? And maybe before the next audit, because I noticed that there are pages and pages and pages in the audit that are going through repeating information from prior years. And, how can we support that? Just even if it's just granting those, or can they be transferred to the general fund if is there a process to at least streamline around the edges?
I did remember that when we were putting the final touches and finishing some of the other funds' budgets, and Mitchell Creek came to mind. It would require, I believe those funds could probably be rolled back into the general fund, but it does take a little bit of time to go back and search the records to see what the overall source of funding was for that particular activity or fund when we set it up, and just have not had a chance to do that analysis. I am all for keeping the number of funds that we have to a minimum for the reason that you stated. I mean, additional pages in the audit report, additional funds that need to be budgeted. So yes, anything that could be eliminated, we'll take a look at that and see if we can do that yet this year.
What was the Mitchell Creek Fund for? Like, what's its purpose?
It was a grant.
We would have received in most, well, I was here, I don't remember, but probably federal or state funding to do some work on that watershed. Probably something that the drain commissioner at the time may have initiated. There may have been county funds appropriated or match requirements that the county would have contributed.
Okay, thank you.
We did, last year, we closed down, you can see the special projects fund. We used the funds that were in that fund to do some ball field improvements. We were able to identify that the funds that were left in that fund were primarily funds that were committed by the general fund. So we did use those funds, and you see there's no budget in 25 or 26. There may be a few other funds that we could knock off.
And, sorry, a similar question. The Federal Revenue Fund 282 went from 5 to 2 million. What is that?
That is the ARPA fund. So we're spending that down. I'm estimating where we'll be at the end of 2025. I'm assuming that we may only have East Bay that we're working with at that time.
Commissioner Walder?
In the expenditures by department recommended budget, both the Register of Deeds and Treasurer offices have quite a big increase from the 2025 budget to the proposed 2026. Can someone share why those are recommended to be so much higher?
I can. I didn't bring my notes down, but for the Register of Deeds, we were using the Technology Fund, which is another fund that the Register of Deeds manages, whereby fees from every document that's recorded are set aside by state law to fund technology and improvements in that office. Over the years, we have pretty much spent that fund down to a very, it had a fund balance. We've used most of that fund balance. To make a long story short, we were charging most of the IT or technology to that fund. This year, with the funds having been expended in prior years, the technology costs, at least for the computers, software, and hardware, had to be moved back into the general fund. And so that's the primary increase there, is for the information technology that we are no longer able to fund in that technology fund. For the treasurer, the biggest item there is we're moving to their BS&A software, which they use for tax collection and for the delinquent tax fund, and also our assessing or equalization function. That cost, we're making that implementation or that change, I think, January 1 of 2026. So that cost has been built into the treasurer's budget, as well as there should be some increase, I think, in the equalization budget for that move to the cloud.
Yeah, there's a little more in equalization, but it's not quite as significant.
Yeah, the biggest increase there is for the BS&A software, moving that to the cloud. It's I believe it's $120,000 total additional cost that's split between the, I think 77% of it is currently being allocated to the treasurer, and that's the primary increase for the treasurer.
Well, it's almost a $300,000 increase to the treasurer's budget.
I'd have to take a look at it. I did have some notes on that, but I did not.
Okay.
The teller.
I know this is just the beginning, so, but I'm curious.
The other software that we were charging to miscellaneous contingencies that they use for receipting, teller, is about a $90,000 cost that I've included in the treasurer also. But yes, good questions, and we will answer all of them. Just I don't have all the information
Yeah, that's
with
fine.
me at this
I
point.
know we're
but-
just beginning, so appreciate that.
If you want to look at the fund that Dean was talking about, the Register of Deeds Automation Fund is 256, Fund 256, and you can see that that has gone from 225 to 78,000 over the last 2 years. So that was the fund that he's referring to.
Correct. Their primary software that they use with Fiddler is still charged to the technology fund, but like I said, we're no longer able to cover any cost other than that in that fund. They were using the funds too over time to get the older documents. I never get the term right, but to go to imaged, to take those paper documents and make them electronic. There's still some work there that the Register of Deeds wants to do, and our clerk wants to do some work as well. So get rid of the paper and move them to a better medium.
I like paper still.
I do too, but
Can I ask just below, well, at least I'm looking at page 3 or 4, account 261 is the building authority rent is dropping almost 600, just under 600,000. From 25 to 26, I assume something fell off.
our debt on the Hall of Justice building out here on the back of the campus, we made the last payment
3 or 4?
in May of this year. So that's a debt issue that has been paid in full. That's not, that we don't need the budget for going forward.
So I'm going to just flag as an issue that this last year at the last minute when we were talking about the budget, one of the discussions that was rejected was, does our finance department need additional personnel? And I'm just going to, I understand that that was not a request, or if it was, it didn't make it to us, but I believe it was not a request in this year's budget. And before the end of the budget, before we adopt a budget, I would like us to have a discussion about that again, not only because I think the technology, while it creates efficiencies, frankly, it also creates more work in some ways. And I think this county has just gotten more complex. I mean, we're growing, we grew 11.7% in population and in property values over the last very short amount of time. So I anticipate that we're going to want to talk about staffing, and that is one that just comes to my mind as a potential need.
Yeah, I would consider this a framework to start with, and what programs and services the board wants to see, like additional finance resources or whatever you would like to see. We need to hear that so we can add it to this budget. These numbers are going to change just based on what we begin to know and discover as we go through this process. So that's what we need to hear, is what do you want to see from us? What initiatives would you like to undertake? You know, I've heard conversations about planning. I've heard conversations about additional financial resources. That's what we need to hear. And we didn't ask for additional positions this year because we felt that it would be unfair to tell everybody within the county, we're going to take some austerity measures and then add to it. But we have flexibility in the budget. It's significant flexibility. It's where do we want to align our priorities within the 2026 budget. That is something that we would like to have just an open discussion with the Board of Commissioners between now and the conclusion so we can get to what you want.
Any more comments, questions? Commissioner Walter?
Yeah, I note in here that there's several, millage funded buckets, and all of them are projected to go up, Commission on Aging and Senior, but the Veterans is going down. Can you, I know there was something going on there, but can you remind us?
Well, we have a big issue that's looming. It's called the state budget. The primary, the decrease there is Mr. Roof has been able to receive state grant funding for additional services that he can provide. he did not include that state grant in his budget request for 2026, simply because at this point in time, we don't know if those dollars are going to be available. We can add that grant to the budget at any point in time, and but at this point in time, that's the main reason for that variance.
Okay, thank you.
And his caution is probably warranted. If you recall, this year, one of his main grants was cut nearly in half from the state. So I do think it was worth the caution, but we can certainly change it as we find out more.
As I recall too, we also have quite a fund balance in the Veterans Fund. Is that correct?
Correct.
500,000?
Correct. I don't like to give a number without knowing for sure.
It's in the audit, I believe.
Yeah, it would be.
Somewhere in there.
They do have a good fund balance.
So, a couple more questions. One is the medical examiner expense that didn't exist in the last 2 years. Looking at health and welfare, 648, medical examiner, 590,000. Is that a grant funded, or what is?
No, that's a good catch. I'm getting busted here today pretty good. And I see Mr. Leahy left.
Yeah.
I primarily, and I kind of was hoping Nate would be okay with this, Administrator Alger, but the medical examiner has been in the health fund budget for a good period of time, but it's really required to be in the general fund per the state uniform chart of accounts. So we have moved that back over into the general fund. It used to be a department in the general fund, and there are some benefits for the health department, primarily based on what we have to do there for cost allocation purposes. It messes up how they allocate some of their health administration costs when we have that cost center in the health fund. So I did tell Mr. Leahy and their finance director that we would make that move for 2026 to bring it back into the general fund. We looked at what, for the last 5 years, what the general fund appropriation to the health department was to cover that piece, and it was approximately $350,000 of the appropriation from the county general fund to the health fund. So that's kind of where we started. We do receive some grant money from the 2 other counties. So, and Mr. Leahy is currently working with, we're trying to do that whole function a little bit differently, and we think we can do it for less cost. So they've gone out to bid for that service. And it would also be more efficient for us to administer too, because we currently have the people that do I'm not sure what they're titled, but we have a number of folks on payroll. We're trying to get away from that function altogether. We don't have firm numbers yet, but we do think that what we've built into the budget at this point in time is what it would cost if we keep it the way it is. We're hoping that we can come under that amount when we contract with somebody to basically provide all of the service.
So we currently have RFPs out. Leona County is aware of this as well because we partner with them for our medical examiner services. And we are requesting proposals for the 9 or 10 employees that we have, which are called medical examiner investigators. We're hoping to completely contract that out versus having those employees on staff. And what we are seeing is there will be a cost savings. We just don't know what that would be at this point in time, but that is going to be concluded before the end of this process, so you'll have it.
Great. And then my last question on this topic. State revenue sharing, last year it was a healthy 3.2 million. We hear bad things from what's not happening in Lansing. Any update? And what are you budgeting based on for revenue sharing?
The, the last that I heard, which was last week, there's potentially a reduction, maybe 11 to 10%. I did not take that into consideration at this point, but I didn't increase the revenue. I used the amount that the state is still reporting on the Treasury website as the amount that we're expected to receive. You know, my guess would be that they'll reduce those numbers at some point, but as of today, they're still they're providing a number. I used that estimate in that number, in the amount that's budgeted at this point, so. But I think MAC published something last week that said that they were talking about a 12% decrease in statutory revenue sharing, which is what the county receives. And on $2 million, that would be a
It says
good number.
34.9 million. The House has proposed cutting county revenue sharing by that much.
But what does that come to per county?
It's all different.
It's money we won't see.
Weighted.
Yeah, I think like I said, I didn't do the math, but it would be 12% of $2 million. Be a big number.
240,000.
I feel we can manage that though, if that's what they do. But it wouldn't just be statutory revenue sharing. I mean, the health department receives a significant amount of state grant funding. We have other state grants that we've included in the general fund budget. A lot of times though, the budget resolution, if those state grants go away, there could be positions that are tied to them as well.
And we are contemplating that, and we have held positions open with the expectation that those dollars will come short. So we are currently holding certain positions open, expecting that.
I believe with what you just offered there, Director Bott, Minister Erlinger, as we talk about what we want to do and any flexibility we might have in the budget, that we should be more conservative nature and not less, because my fear is we're going to get less than what they say they're going to give us, as was clearly demonstrated last year from the federal government as well as the state level. And that's to go down a road, it's like, hey, we got extra money, let's do this, or not unaccounted for money, excuse me, unspent revenue that we put away in a rainy day account gives me pause and sometimes fits. I do have a question about revenues on the first page. I'm sorry, on page 2 of 4. The county treasurer went from $520,000 for 25 to $1.5 million this year, or for next year's budget. What's the increase of $1 million? Did I miss that in conversation?
No, you did not. I am always conservative, and when you look at 2025, we used a very conservative estimate for what interest revenue would be. For 2026, we're not as conservative. That's an increase in interest revenue.
Wow.
Primarily. I think we maybe budgeted 300 or 400,000 in 2025 compared to what, 2 million that we recognized in the general fund in 2024. So that's how conservative the treasurer and I have been with that number. We're not as conservative in 2026, but the amount that we budgeted, which I think is $1,350,000 of that total, is still very conservative to what we'll actually. We're very conservative in these revenue estimates. The same is true with the non-departmental. In 2025, you can see there's a big increase when you look at the amount for the first item that's on this page's summary. The tax revenue is the main revenue in that non-departmental. We budgeted less in 2025 than we actually realized or received in 2024. We're estimating what the revenue will be in 2026, and I believe our equalization director has come up with a nice tool that we use to project what that revenue is. And we run the numbers through, and we're not budgeting the full amount of what we expect to receive. There's a reason for that. I mean, you won't have your equalization report until next April, which will tell you what the increase in taxable value is. You don't know what, there's an inflationary increase built into your tax revenue too. We're not as conservative in '26 with that tax revenue estimate, but we still are very conservative.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any more questions, comments, concerns? Let's take a break.
But if they send a message.
Folks. Meeting back to order. We have 9E, talking about a escrow payment, Garfield Township for Project Alpha. Administrator Eldred, could you explain that to us?
Actually, I'm going to let Mr. Forsythe handle this, please.
Thank you, Mr. Forsythe.
So we're at the stage, Project Alpha, where we're wrapping up design development. So now it's time to take the plans developed and start going through the permitting process, understanding that local zoning doesn't apply, but there are certain township ordinance that we still have to comply with, dealing with public infrastructure. Typical township practice in this community that there's an upfront escrow payment required to do the review by the township engineer and other staff. And so that is what you have in front of you, is a letter from Jennifer Graham on behalf of Garfield Township, directed to the township clerk, that this is the escrow that the county will have to pay to do the necessary plan review for Project Alpha.
Thank you. Any comments or questions or additions to that?
So I just want to add, so what we're asking for is a motion to authorize the payment of escrow in the amount reflected in Jennifer Graham's letter to Garfield Township.
That would be $29,500.
Correct.
Who made the motion? All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Walter,
I'll support.
support by Commissioner Morris. Questions or discussion? I have some questions. So, in this is typical, right? I mean, you're building a building in any municipality, they're like, hey, we're gonna do oversight, making sure you're to code, such on and so forth. So where does this lie in review of our own? Because I believe we're also hiring our own people to make sure it's in code.
So yes, we are, through Partners in Architecture, through Monument Engineering, our engineer, as well as we're hoping that construction code staff, our deputy building official, Rob Sturdivant, also does a separate review in conjunction with Garfield Township staff.
All right, any questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Andrews.
When will we see the building plans and cost estimates?
So we would like to present that to you potentially first meeting in October. So where we are right now in the project is for Cunningham Limp to become construction manager. They have provided us 79 pages of agreements that have to be reviewed, finalized, and come to the Board of Commissioners for approval. So we're working through that due diligence right now with civil counsel and with our insurance carrier, MMRMA. Part of those contracts will include the complete set of plans for this project.
Is that it?
Trying to remember the email from Lisa, but I thought we were getting a deeper dive into the financing side of that in the 24th of
Yes,
September.
correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
No more questions, comments, concerns? Commissioner Andrews, you're done?
I mean, just for the record, these are standard escrow costs, applying a formula based on the amount of time the engineer thinks they will take.
Yes. Yep.
Can you, just on the sewer and water extension, I mean, how many, there is already sewer and water on the campus for the buildings that are already there. $3,500 to extend it, what must be feet from the existing building to?
I think that's correct, yes. Feet.
So just to review the plans, $3,500 to, I mean.
$100 a foot.
We're in the wrong business again.
We sure are.
Yes.
Is Gordy Gordy Fraser does that on a contract basis for Garfield Township?
Yes.
So they charge Gordy Fraser rates?
Yes, I
If the
don't know that level of detail.
Okay,
but
when the
yes.
county does review, we have county employees that are generally doing that work?
Yes.
And our, okay.
So you're going to ask them if our rate's as high as theirs? Maybe it shouldn't be. Wonder why, this is why buildings are so expensive.
There are local units throughout the state of Michigan that will waive these type of requirements, but unfortunately, Garfield Township, where they don't have a waiver.
Did
Shocker.
They-
Call this my surprised face.
Did we ask for a waiver?
We, through consultation with Jerry Cunningham, or I'm sorry, Jerry Tomzak at Cunningham Lamp, it was, this is normal business, it's not worth our effort to,
Even for a governmental entity
so,
serving taxpayers?
I would be concerned if this is a
point.
$30 million building and the escrow is estimated at $30,000, subject to potential escalation or decreases depending on actual time spent. As I understand it, this is not a project cost, right? This is just an estimate based on the number of hours they estimate. When we build, say, a new justice facility that's, say, 2 or 3 times that, are we setting a precedent in terms of paying one public entity to another public entity for public buildings that we're gonna?
I mean, they're paying Gordy Fraser, somebody's got to pay them, right, to do the work.
Not necessarily. We have 3 different entities of our own that are doing exactly what they're talking about right here, that we're already paying for.
I think it's worth an ask.
I have a meeting with Mr. Barshef upcoming. I will certainly ask for a waiver.
I think it's worth an ask.
we'd still, yes, we want to continue the conversation, but we do need this motion, just in case the answer is no, sorry, we can't waive the escrow.
So my question's going to be, between today and in 2 weeks from today, what's the difference?
If we continue to delay review, it just compounds the delay with the project, and then it starts looking at cost overruns.
Could we consider a friendly amendment to approve the authority for the escrow and request a waiver in the same motion?
Yep.
I'll accept that friendly amendment.
Sweet. Did you catch that? Fantastic. Any more? Comments, questions, concerns, everybody? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, everyone. Moving right along.
I think we want to be clear, we're not asking for a waiver from the review process, though, right? We understand that needs to happen. We're just asking for a waiver for the fees, not the process itself.
Correct. That was my understanding. Unfinished business. I don't see any. New business. I don't have anything listed. Anybody? Commissioner Department reports. Commissioner Enschel?
Well, it's in the news. The airport's got a kind of a temporary or somewhat permanent, I'm not sure actually, we'll get more information going forward, but terminal, kind of like an auxiliary terminal for the overflow. It'll also be very useful during the construction phase when different parts of the buildings might be closed. So lots going on at the airport just to keep up with a huge demand for air service in Traverse City.
Thank you. Commissioner Morris?
Yes, on Friday, September the 12th, from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., Northern Lakes Community Mental Health will be holding a community discussion and feedback public hearing. We're required to do this every year. And would like the public to know that they're welcome to come and voice their thoughts about what they would like to see from their community mental health authority. Also, this commissioners are going to be receiving from me an invitation to attend on Tuesday, September 23rd at noon, a Restoring Hope luncheon at Michael's Place at the Park Place Hotel. And if you're not aware of the good work that they do in our community, let me just give you a little fact that might kind of bring things home. At one point, they conducted a workshop with addiction treatment services, and they found that about 90-some-odd% of the people who were in addiction treatment had some form of grief that they had not attended to. And so just making that connection between mental health, I would love for my fellow commissioners to come and just see. There's no minimum donation, there's no charge for the luncheon. Just come sit at my table and listen to some of the things that are happening in the community. So I'll send you out an email today.
Sweet. On the CMH thing,
Yes.
where is that?
It's at Hall Street.
Oh, it's Hall Street. All right, thank you. Commissioner Flynn?
I do not have any updates at the current time. I'm gonna leave that
Commissioner
down to
Walter?
Chair.
Just wanted to invite everybody to the Central Neighborhood Porch Fest if you are around on Sunday, September 14th in the afternoon, 1 to 5. It's a great time in downtown Traverse City with an afternoon of music across lots of porches across Central Neighborhood. So if you've never been before, I would especially invite you to come. It's pretty awesome. And also the Traverse City Mural Festival, the first one, is coming up September 12th through 17th, and you can find out more through the Traverse City Public Art website and social media as well, and through the city. So welcome. Lots of great fall happenings.
What date is the Porch Fest?
The 14th.
Oh, thank you.
You're going to be getting out of your kayak and heading right to Central Neighborhood.
I'll be done at 10 a.m. I pull the last person out of the water. So, yeah, to add to Commissioner Morris's addiction treatment services and community mental health announcement, there is a email invitation that we all got celebrating 50 years of ATS, serving Northern Michigan. That's Addiction Treatment Services, and it's September 13th at 5:30 at the City Opera House. I cannot attend, but hopefully some of you can. I'm going to Parents Weekend at MSU. And then I serve on the Northwest Michigan Community Action Agency, and there's a lot of budget cuts that we're prepared to address. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. They have a really nice Facebook page and social media page presence with the Community Action Agency that explains some of their programs, like the weatherization program for seniors who have needs to weatherize their homes, and of course Meals on Wheels and the Head Start program that they support. So I would just encourage all of you to look at the Community Action Agency Facebook page or go to their website and see what they offer to our community to keep everyone healthy and supported, and what their challenges are financially right now. I think it's important to note.
Good. Commissioner Andrews?
Yeah, the pavilions at last will reopen, the Aspen Wing. It's
Fantastic.
been closed for years, and it's taken a while to get it back ready to reopen. It will open, there's an open house for the community on September 23rd at 11 a.m., and I understand they're going to be also doing some additional open houses for providers in the community as a referral opportunity. So if that is of interest to you as a county commissioner, or also if you've got elderly people in your networks, Pavilions remains a gem in our community. So, so you know about that.
Thank you. I have nothing. Administrator Alger?
Okay. As you're aware, MAC is fast approaching. I have been informed that there is an interest on behalf of the county to host, again, a Welcome to Grand Traverse County kind of thing at MAC, and we do have a potential donor for that event. So keep that in mind. If you have questions or thoughts on what that could look like, please let me know. Secondly, last night, the East Bay Township Planning Commission approved our plan for Graylick. And I want to thank John and his staff and the Parks Board for their perseverance and resiliency in this process. It's not over. We intend to engage certain members in the community to talk about what their concerns are with Graylick. We've committed to that, and we will continue to commit to that. And I'm just grateful that that process has been completed. And then last but not least, recess is tonight in the event that you wish to attend. It's in Blair Township at a brewery and a dog park combined. So I cannot be in attendance, but somebody else certainly may.
Fantastic, sounds great. Mr. Forsyth, anything?
Yeah, I just wanted to let the board know that yesterday we opened applications for marijuana funds. And I want to thank Jenny McKellar for all her hard work in putting together a great application process, working on press releases, and standing up a dedicated webpage. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out, please take a minute, take a look at it. It's really good work that Jenny did.
Fantastic. Director Bott?
Good.
Clerk Shealy?
Just to follow up, just to clarify the recess for tonight, it's at K&A Hop Dogs.
Thank you.
Hop Dogs.
That would be over by
Cute, at
Mrs. Pinker's Stadium
4277
Yeah.
Village Park Drive.
That's across the street from the Pit Spitters.
Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, right near there.
Yeah, it's right across from the entrance. Haven't been there yet.
I love puns.
Anything else, anyone? Any notices? We're not going to
Yes, so notices, thank you, Commissioner. The 17th, we will be doing health officer interviews. There are 3, and you will be receiving some standardized questions that we will work with Matt and HR to kind of walk through what that process will look like for commissioners. We'll have that to you well in advance so that you're prepared to manage those interviews accordingly. And we expect to have all 3 interviews done within the time frame allotted. And it's up to you at that point in time whether you choose to make a selection on the 17th or delay that to a future date. But just wanted to let you know that. Part of the process, as we mentioned, Laura and Molly did vet the 3 applicants for their eligibility for the position. All 3 applicants are eligible.
Fantastic. Anything else?
Study session next week on
Thank you.
justice facility-related progress.
Yep.
Fair?
Fair. The Executive Steering Committee has made quite a bit of movement, and we want to update the board and also get guidance from the board on a few specific things that will be highlighted in that agenda.
And I want to thank you for bringing up the Camp Graylick topic and the issues that are arising. For anybody listening in the public, I get a lot of emails. We all get emails about concerns, and I'm really thankful that you're addressing them, and because it's not in my hands personally, but I do care, and I want to make sure that Camp Graylick is a win-win for everyone. Thanks.
Yeah, we want to do what's right, but we also, it's our park, and there's a fine line between acquiescing to certain demands and recognizing a legitimate request. And I think that John and his staff have been very patient through this process and accommodating through this process without saying we're not going to do what the Parks and Rec Board wants us to do. Mm-hmm. So last night was the first step of that approval process. We're good to go, but we also recognize that we want to work with the Conservancy and the Community Foundation as well as the Rennie Lake Forest Area residents to make sure that we're not a bad neighbor.
Well stated.
All right, if there is nothing else, we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Let's be honest.